Hello, and welcome to the Astro Energy Astrology Show podcast with astrologer Shelley Overton.
Hi, friends, and welcome to the August 19th edition of the Astro Energy Astrology Show podcast with me, your astrologer in Orlando, Florida, Shelley Overton. I want to say hello. I hope your week's been going well. Lots of stuff going on this week. We have got multiple events going on, so we're going to get right into it. And first off, actually, I do want to mention a comment I had on one of my videos saying, well, you're just saying the numbers, and what do they mean, Well, the numbers are the degrees that the planets transit through each section of the sky. So it's 0 to 2959. In other words, are 30 degrees of astrological transition through the sky. From 0 degrees, 0 degrees to 2959, which is 29 degrees and 59 minutes. That is a section of the sky associated with each individual zodiac sign. The first 10 degrees is the sign itself that you are looking at in a chart. The next 10 degrees are ruled by the next sign of the same element. So if it's Earth, then it starts with Taurus, then it goes to Virgo and ends with Capricorn. First 10 degrees, say, is the sign that you're in. The next 10 degrees is the next sign of the same element. And then the last 10 degrees is the final sign of that element. So if it were, say, 15 Taurus, the first 10 degrees of Taurus were Taurus. The second 10 degrees is Taurus Virgo, and the final degrees are Taurus Capricorn. So it gives an added layer of understanding the drive behind the actual degrees. Then there are some degrees that are degrees of world point. The world points are the 0 degrees of the cardinal signs. So it would be Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn. And then what you do is you take basically a square and you rotate it 45 degrees. And then you have the midpoints in between those degrees, which turn out to be 15 degrees of the 15 degrees of the fixed signs, which are Leo, Aquarius, Scorpio, and Taurus. So that kind of gives you an idea of basically where you get those degrees from, but there's so much more to read about it. If you want, look up world points or go to studentofastrology.com, which is where I got this graphic that I'm going to throw up right here. And so I just wanted to let you know that that is a degree that affects, generally when we have transits over those degrees, they have more impact in the world as opposed to just personal lives and, a small transit. It's much more impactful for global leaders, for systems and world governments, for events such as wars or earthquakes, weather patterns, things that affect the global economy, the global environment. At late degrees, when you have planets at late degrees, generally I read 25 through 2959 as kind of a late degree of any sign. And when it gets into the late degrees, you find a concentrated energy of the sign it's in as it gets ready to move into the next sign if the planet's transiting there. So for instance, Pluto right now is at 26 degrees of Capricorn. It is entering the last 6 degrees of that sign, last 4 degrees of the sign. And currently it's retrograde. So, I'm just using it as an example. But you see that it is in the final moments of its time, so to speak, in that sign, which means it's a higher concentration of a reaction to that energy. And so in the world right now, we see, and I've talked about this on my Pluto shows, but you see more rallying by the powers that be, authority figures, the structure, the government leaders, that kind of thing under Pluto, really coming out from the depths with how they interact with the world and behave. And they're really showing who they are, which was hidden all this time. And now it's just being expunged for us all to see. So I have these discussions with my aunt and other friends, and they're always like, oh, it's so horrible. It's just the worst now. I don't even want to go out now. Well, yes, all the ugly is definitely coming out in society. We are not curbing what we say, where as a Virgo, I'm a little more aware of having been raised with, not swearing around your family and friends, all the ease with which language is just being expressed now in music and common vernacular, taking little kids out to a restaurant, you're going to hear the F-bomb, you're going to hear shit. And so it's coming out, there's definitely a generation, an Aquarian generation, that is right around the millennium with Neptune and Uranus in Aquarius, that doesn't have the same reverence for society's norms. And so they are challenging the verbal norms of our day, like maybe my day. But yeah, so that's changing. And then there's leaders who say, we're not even going to be shy about it. I'm just going to tell you, if I get elected again, I'm going to behave like a dictator. And dictators are out there in the world, and there seem to be so many of them right now. And that's the energy of Pluto and Capricorn, really showing us what has always been underneath the surface, including sexual predators and people in positions of authority and power now coming out in the spotlight. The people are pointing them out. They're getting more airtime. You're seeing a lot more of the ugly underbelly of life and society, because we have Pluto at late degrees of Capricorn, which rules authority, which rules the structure. And of course, Pluto is digging deep into the hidden, the mystery. So it's all coming out as we get closer to Aquarius, which Aquarius rules clarity and clear-mindedness, clear sight. So yeah, and so the late degrees, we really see this expunging of energy and really concentrated energy as it's getting everything out before it goes into a new sign, which, if you've been listening, but even if you haven't, it's March 23rd, 2023. So 3/23/2023. And so that's the first day Pluto goes into Aquarius. And let's see, it's been roughly 247 years, or 250 to just round up, since it was last there, which means it's a very new energy for everyone alive today. And so as we go through the last degrees, we'll get to the final degree in February and March of next year. And it's a term that's used for the moon after it loses its effectiveness, called void of course. I appreciate that term. Orrery is the understanding of a question in the moment. So when you understand the question, you cast a chart for that moment in time, and then you can infer through where the planetary positions are what the outcome or the answer to that question is. And so doing that type of astrology, the moon is very much an indicator of an outcome. And having this concept void of course associated with the moon definitely brings up the concept that void of course for the moon has a specific energy of not being fulfilling, that things may not come to fruition if they are done in that void of course period, which is the period after the last major aspect to a planet before it goes into a new sign. And so when you have a planet like Pluto, maybe not interacting with other planets as it moves into a new sign, which will be February, March of next year, you're going to get this kind of ineffectual lame duck energy. And so there's definitely a time when, if you do a chart and choose an electional chart, which is choosing a time to start an event, then you have Pluto at 28.5 degrees, and you're just like, oh, this is a good time to start something. Well, maybe not, because it means that nothing will come from it potentially, because you're in an area of the sky where it's getting ready to shift and change, and it really effectively is a lame duck energy, that nothing will come from it. And so the end degrees have that energy about them. So that's a little overview of the degrees. There's always more to be found out, but I think that pretty well covers 0 through 2959. We have aspect numbers and degrees. We're not going to get into that today. What I want to talk about is all of the upcoming transits and transitions, and then a few of the aspects that you can see up here on this side with what I've highlighted in this chart. But we'll get into that after we go through the week. So I'm putting this up on the 19th. So I'm just going to quickly overview the 19th. And that is, the moon enters Gemini at 8:06 a.m. So it's going to be really analytical and chatty energy. And then there's a sextile with Jupiter at 11:52 p.m., which is a really lovely social traveling energy. It's like, hey, let's get out, let's do something, let's go somewhere. Of course, it's almost midnight. Maybe it's just a trip to the all-night ice cream store. There is grocery store that's open all night, go get ice cream. And then overnight, on Saturday, Mars moves into Gemini. So we've got the moon and Mars in Gemini overnight coming up Saturday the 20th. And Mars has been in Taurus for a very long time, it seems. But Taurus, because remember, we just had that Uranus North Node Mars conjunction in Taurus, still holding on and still giving a lot of energy to people. And once it's in Gemini, it really takes the focus off of romance and Venus, which Taurus is ruled by Venus. And then it goes to Mercury because Mercury is the ruler of Gemini. So we're going from love and money and drive to make money into communications, writing, lyrics, music, short distance transportation, vehicles, electronics, phones, things like that. So we're also going from Mars in Taurus, which is material goods, into potentially seeing if those goods are viable. Because once Mars moves out of that last degree, like I just said, last degree of Mars in Taurus is going to really show us the end of an item, the end of its goodness and livelihood and viability in the material world, moving into Gemini. So now we move from earth to air, and we're going to be much more up in our heads. We're going to be in our ideas and innovation and invention and words and communication. Are we getting things from our mind to our mouth? Is it coming out properly? And then on Saturday, we have a sextile between the moon in Gemini and Venus in Leo. So that is even more added energy around romance or socializing and relating to people through words, through conversations. It's a really great time. It goes in and perfects the sextile at 5:09 a.m. on Saturday, but it's still there. They're in orb throughout the day. And so it could be a really good day for some nice socializing on Saturday. I put down a bit self-absorptive, brash, bold, verbal, and can potentially be hurtful because of especially the Mars and Gemini lack of focus on how words come across to people. Sunday, we're going to have a potential advance in knowledge and awareness of COVID as we have Mercury in Virgo in opposition to Neptune in Pisces. So this is like the ideas and the thought and the analysis are opposite Neptune in Pisces, which is the disease. And because they're opposite, they can act in antagonistic ways or synergistic ways. So synergy meaning that the two energies spin together and basically create two parts of a whole. And so it is really good for potential breakthroughs with disease, with inoculations, anything in the medical realm, but specifically, COVID could definitely have some advances. We might hear more about COVID on Sunday. And then throughout the day, we have Moon in Gemini squaring Neptune, squaring Mercury in conjunct to Pluto. And finally, at 6:06 p.m., ends with a sextile to the sun. So the afternoon is going to be more contentious with Neptune, Mercury, Pluto. And Neptune is water, flooding, water storms, anything with the body water, anything that relates to liquids in the body or liquids in a house, or so it's toilets and faucets and leaks and things like that too. We have the square with Mercury, which is Virgo squaring Gemini. This is the story of my life. I'm a Virgo, my sister's a Gemini, so I know that very well. And it's kind of the battle of the know-it-alls, honestly. And true analysis, because they were both ruled by Mercury, although Gemini's air, Virgo's earth. Gemini wants to talk about ideas, Virgo wants to bring it to reality and talk about the physical lists of how to get it done. In conjunct with Pluto is going to be probably more Donald Trump stuff because, of course, he's the Gemini. Moon in Gemini in conjunct to Pluto, Capricorn, which is the authority, the government, the structure, and the system within our bodies. It is ideas and mouths, and then it's also, as it's in negative aspect to the physicality of getting words out properly. So there could be theoretical not getting it out, or even physical not getting the word out. And then later on in the day, the moon sextiles sun in Leo. Again, more social energy coming in. Good stuff, because, remember Saturday morning was moon in Gemini, sextile Venus in Leo, and now we have the sun in Leo. So it's kind of similar energy late in the night to what it was early in the morning Saturday, late at night Sunday. And it's going to be a lot more about social and connectedness. And also creativity and drama, definitely some of that as well. Moon in Cancer, I just had a hit, sadly. I have a friend who's on Love Island, one of my clients, and I think she might not make it past Sunday just because I know her chart, and that's a pretty harsh energy. We'll cross our fingers and knock wood as I do every week. Moon in Cancer, 8:29 p.m. Sunday, focusing on family, home life issues, and domesticity. And then Monday, so we really have a lot going on here. So the 4 days this week, the first 4 days, Moon enters Gemini, Mars enters Gemini on Saturday, Sunday, Moon enters Cancer, and then Monday, Sun enters Virgo. And so Sun entering Virgo happens at 11:16 p.m. So throughout the course of Monday, it's still Sun in Leo, last degrees, like I said, last degrees of Sun in Leo. And that is going to be more about pushing the drama, pushing being in the spotlight, having the connectedness, needing the connectedness on some level, and in a broader overarching sense. Yeah, so let's see. Just some minor aspects that day. There's Mercury and Virgo trining Pluto. This is also health issues and the body. So look for Monday to be much more about how things are going on in the body, but also possible self-doubt, anxiety, and health issues. Tuesday, this coming week, mostly Moon and Cancer aspects. We've got a square to Chiron, a sextile to Uranus, which is good at 10:51 a.m. Means there's clarity of thought in a good grounded and emotional sense. They're cooperative. Ideas come in, how to make money. Money and security are going to be kind of the focus early on Tuesday. And then there's maybe a little lack of cooperation around freewheeling, Saturn wanting more freedom, but not really wanting to focus in. They're going to be focused more on personal gain or something through entrepreneurial endeavors, or something where they're much more free to move about the cabin. A trine to Neptune in Pisces on Tuesday between the moon and Neptune in Pisces. Very watery, very emotional. It's going to be, really what I see this as is some old emotional, sentimental storylines around home and family coming back up, triggering us, making us a little bit more sentimental, having a harder time overcoming issues of the past associated with home and family. I know exactly how that's probably going to hit in my life. Can't share that right now. And then Moon opposite Pluto. And so definitely there's a major shift associated with home and family and the structure of such that happens later overnight, because it's 11:17 p.m. Pacific and 2:17 a.m. Eastern, Tuesday of next week to Wednesday. So it's going to be kind of a really hard energy for sentimental reasons around this change and shift that we're getting, because on Wednesday, Uranus goes retrograde, and that's 9:54 a.m. And it's right after the moon enters Leo. And so Leo and Aquarius energy is opposite in the chart, but Uranus is in Taurus, which squares Leo. So it's going to square the Leo moon by sign, not by degree, not exact degree. And then, so Uranus retrograde, this is a pretty big thing. And so that's Wednesday. And I'm going to finish this out. Mercury enters Libra on Thursday. So not only, I think Tuesday of next week is really the only day that there isn't some type of shift into a new energy. And Wednesday, Uranus turns retrograde. So do you ever get tired of me telling you all of the subjects that are assigned to a planet or a zodiac sign? So Uranus rules Aquarius. We're going to go back over it again because it's what people learn about when they tune into the channel. So Uranus rules Aquarius. Aquarius and Uranus are the same energy. So you learn the sign, you've got the planet, vice versa for all of the planets and signs for the most part, with the exception of Venus and Mercury, because they share 2 signs each. But Uranus rules intelligence. It rules neurons and neurological expression, electrical energy. So it's going fast in our brains. It zaps the energy in our head. Because Uranus rules these electrical energies, it also rules atmospheric electricity, storms, anything like lightning coming to the earth, things like that. It's very sciencey. It's about broader awareness and clarity and large scale communications. It is technology, anything that these electrical impulses bring out into the public. So the internet, telecommunications, satellite dishes, science, rockets, space, all of it, all that kind of science stuff, chemicals, chemistry. I mean, you kind of get the idea. It's really like STEM. So that energy is going to take a hit as Uranus retrogrades. And so when this energy is retrograding from our perspective on Earth, it means that, of course, the planet from our perspective is in an angle of its orb around the sun that goes kind of backwards from where we see it here on Earth. And so for a period of time through those degrees, it appears to retrograde, and then it comes out the other side and then moves forward in astrological terms. So while it makes that shift, there's a tremendous shift of energy that goes on, electromagnetic energy that goes on in the earth when these perspective, probably a bit like optical illusions on some level, but yet still we have the energy present itself. So when this planet goes retrograde, there can be a jarring energy to the electrical magnetic atmosphere, and it'll affect what we use in those realms. So TVs, communications, satellites, technology, storms, everything, all of it, everything I just said can be fair game for not working properly in that concentrated amount of time, about 4 days, 2 on either side, maybe 3 days on either side. If you're really sensitive, you may pick up on it a few days before the energy happens. And like I said, it happens next Wednesday on the 24th, and that happens at 9:54 a.m. Eastern, 6:54 a.m. Pacific. And I think you have to adjust for England, because I don't remember if I think it's still 5 hours, but maybe it's 6. Anyway, plus add to it. So it's like 4 in the afternoon, 5 in the afternoon. So Wednesday and all of the beginning of next week, especially because the sun goes into Virgo, another electrical energy, we're going to have probably the big headache week next week coming up, because it's about communications and understanding and intellect. And, is the energy cooperative? Are we moving forward, or is it chaotic? It's going to be chaotic. Mercurial, that's the word that is assigned to Mercury. It's mercurial. It's unreliable and unstable. And I tell this to my parents all the time when they say, hey, I can't get this TV up. The internet went dead again. And I'm like, just turn it off and turn it on. Quickest way to deal with it. But yet they'll sit there and they'll fiddle with things and try and make it work, and it doesn't work. And I tell my dad, it's unstable. It rules, this energy of Uranus right now in Taurus rules the stock market and cryptocurrency, and it's unstable. That's the nature of it, because it is a Uranian entity. So is the internet. It's Uranian. Cards that we use, they have to talk to a main transfer site, a center. When we use a swipe debit card or credit card, that could get wacky. So just anticipate that this coming week is going to be an electrical mufa. Okay. And let's see, is that it? Thursday, Mercury enters Libra. It's going to be communication about relationships and marriage, partnerships coming in. There's also a conjunction between the moon in Leo and Venus in Leo. There's actually really good energy in certain parts of the day. I would say after 5 o'clock Eastern, 2 o'clock Pacific, through about 10 p.m., good time for connecting to other people romantically. And then I don't really see anything that stands out next Friday, so we'll talk about that next week. But getting back to this chart, you see a large yellow triangle. And if you look to the right, there's kind of a shadow triangle. So what happens is we've got 3 planets in the sky, and this is currently, and it will still actually perfect over the next 5 days. So I'm recording this on Thursday. So Friday, Saturday, Sunday, maybe some of Monday, Mercury is moving forward through the degrees of Virgo. Pluto's very slow in retrograde. And then Mars is about to change signs, like I said, into Gemini. But before he does, for a couple days, you're going to have that be one of the triangles with Mercury and Pluto. And then Uranus at 18 degrees is still within orb, which is 8 degrees on either side of an exact perfection to this grand trine. And it's a grand trine in Earth. And what does grand trine in Earth mean? Well, these planets are all 120 degrees apart. So up in the sky around the Earth, there is a triangular shape between the points in the sky where these planets reside currently. They are talking to each other. They are interacting. And as I've said in the past, trines can bring about an emotional issue, an emotional subject matter. In this case, again, it's Pluto, which can be life and death, death and rebirth, legalities, value, commitments, deep hidden meaning, information coming out that we didn't know before. And then Uranus is at 18 on one of the corners of that triangle, opposite or near Pluto in that 120 degree. And Uranus, like we've just got done discussing, is about clarity and awakening and awareness. And then to round it all off is Mercury and Virgo. So not only are these planets very significant because they're changing signs or they're initiating energy in signs, they are all talking to each other in this 120 degree trine energy. And that means that they are locking into each other and enhancing that particular storyline around life change, around values, around change of in and of itself, and then movement around ideas and awareness of Mercury and Virgo, and then bringing it to Earth, Uranus and Taurus, Pluto and Capricorn, Mercury and Virgo. How do those things practically affect us in a day-to-day world? It's a big time. Even starting now, I'm on Thursday. This is Thursday. And like I said, the next 4 or 5 days, but then as this, I don't know if you heard, I just had thunder. We're about to get an electrical. We get really bad lightning here in Orlando, but we're about to get another storm. I have lightning strikes 10 miles away. I keep getting notifications about it. So really strong electrical energy. That means that we're going to have our mindset shift and change. We might have to kind of do a dance to get things to do what we want them to do. Information is volatile, and how it comes to us is volatile. The communication of information is volatile. I was filling out a form online this morning, and it asked for my birth date. I put in my birth date 5 times because every time I went through and put in the numbers, it didn't come up and register. And I finally hit return a couple times, and it finally took it. But ultimately, I ended up printing out another version of it. So there you go. And then over here, we've got this purple triangle, and the purple triangle is actually a finger of God or a yod. And that means it is one sextile, 60-degree difference between Pluto and Neptune. And each of them have a 150-degree aspect to another entity in the sky. In this case, it's the sun. So we not only have Pluto, Uranus, Mercury. We also have that secondary grand trine, Pluto, Mars, Mercury, which I'll talk about again in a second. And then we have this finger of God. So fingers of God take this intense energy, especially with Neptune and Pluto, some of the slower moving planets in our zodiac, and they are really digging in to get this message through. And then they zap as if laser beamed over to the sun. And so the sun is taking on this energy. I wouldn't be surprised if the solar flares are particularly big this weekend due to this, but they're all within 1 degree of each other in an exact yod or finger of God. And what happens is I just think of this as two, well, even dowsing rods, when I can't see myself here, dowsing rods come together like this and they cross at the middle. So if you look at it from the top, it's like here's an entity, here's an entity, here at the bottom, and then they come together at the peak of it. And that's where it's like the energy focuses and expresses out through the sun, through the ego in Leo. So this is a leader. I would say Neptune, Pluto, Sun is going to be a story around a national leader. Some governmental leader is going to change and shift. Information will come out because it's Neptune. It's about learning about the illusion, how we thought of something as stable or a certain way, and the glasses are coming off with Neptune retrograde. So we are more aware of our deeper emotional, psychological engagement in the issue. Pluto is psychology, it's values. So here's the Neptune saying this is something that we believe. Pluto is saying this is something you have to understand, all focused on the sun, ego, sense of self, fame, person in the spotlight, and the leadership energy, drama, and it's highly focused there. So those planets and energies all come together to form this very large storyline around a leader, around royalty could be involved with that because Leo rules royalty. And it's creativity as well. So there could be this tremendous push towards a creative expression, but it is very intense and reinforced by that thunder and lightning. And the rain just started. The trees are swaying outside of my window. So yeah, that is happening right now. The grand trines are happening. So the Mars, Mercury, Pluto. Mars is at 29 degrees. It's still within a few degrees of orb of Pluto trine and a few degrees of Mercury as Mercury continues to go forward, much quicker than Mars. Not super quick, but by a couple days it'll go fast, and it will still get closer and closer to that grand trine of Mars at 29 before it moves signs. I think I said Wednesday. No, I'm sorry. Mars moves in on Saturday. So we've got a couple days of this grand trine energy, and it's going to be about the actions we take, the battles, and that's where you're going to see more Ukraine stories, Iraq, Israel, any of the hot spots that are warring right now. It will trigger more of that, and there will be an emotional toll because of that trine energy, and it will be a physical toll because Mars is in Taurus, Pluto in Capricorn, Mercury in Virgo, all Earth. So it is a tremendous amount of power in the Earth this week, and really expressing out for us. Late degrees, really trying to get through how we deal with the materiality of the Earth and how we express ourselves in a material, idealistic way, psychological way, and our ideas as they are expressed out through our voices. Okay, and don't forget Taurus is also the voice. And right now, North Node, Uranus, Moon, and Mars are in Taurus. Moon will move out. Mars will move out before the end of the week end. And then we'll be in Gemini. And Gemini is a Mercury. So it's going to be really volatile, really quick changing. Once Mars gets into Gemini, it's going to be fast, fast, fast. Currently, Moon Mars is really thoughtful and plotting. But the weekend, super fast and kicking. It's also musical and transportation. So, you may spend the weekend dancing in your car. Anyway, that's all for the week. I hope you enjoy the podcast. I did want to point out, this necklace is one that I made, and I make these earrings. I've got lots of jewelry over here. Actually, I'm not going to take that off. I'll just show you closer. This is one of the earrings that I make. I don't know if you can see it. And I like to use all natural objects. I mean, they're colored and everything, but two of these beads are paper, and this is howlite. This is glass, and this is silver, and then that's a glass bead right there. So if you're interested in seeing any of my jewelry, I also have that at shelleyoverton.com, and I'll try and remember. I think the link is below. I always have my links below. Please like, comment, and subscribe, because I really want to build my followers, and share it if you are so inclined. Thank you so much for joining me for another week of astrology, and take care. We'll see you next week. Bye. Focus of energy. Well, let's cut all that too. So
Hey, this is Shelley. I wanted to give you a heads up that there are a lot of new art prints at shelleyoverton.com. So go over there and check them out. SHELLEYOVERTON.com. Thanks.
To purchase my ebook, Learn Astrology, you can find it at angeliczodiac.com. Hi, this is Shelley. Thank you for joining us this week. To contact me for a private reading, go to angeliczodiac.com under the Readings tab. Background music was provided by Kevin MacLeod at incompetech.com. Be sure to check back next week and subscribe through iTunes at Astro Energy Astrology Show.